Hello and welcome to Alpha CG. In the previous video, we textured a cone with a very simple material. In this video, we'll be learning how to add dust, dirt, cracks or dents on the cone procedurally. We'll be dealing with noise textures and displacement maps or bump maps. Before we begin making the dirt and dent textures, we'll just clean up the node material here. Select these nodes right here, Shift P, and I'll put a frame around the nodes and label it base material. And we can move this aside so that it doesn't come up in our way. Now for the dirt, we'll be using noise textures. So we can add that in and Control T, change the output to object, and that will prevent stretching of texture. Now you can bring that up, duplicate that, and now change the type to 4D. Changing it to 4D will give you an extra slider that will allow you to control the seed value. Next, add a mix RGB node. We'll use the first noise texture setup as a factor or as a mask and set this to multiply and switch this to the second input. Make sure the first color is absolute white. Now add a color ramp and change the scale of the first noise texture to 1, detail to 8 and roughness to 0.7. Now we'll preview the texture. So this is what the mask looks like right now. We'll bring up the black slider so that there's less of dirt, and I think about there would be good. We'll choose a better seed value. I think that's good. We'll see what the output of the multiply node is now. So we get absolute white with some patch. So let's just duplicate the color ramp and tweak the settings for this one right here. You can see what the node is doing right here. I'll hide the background to avoid excess light interaction. Right now there's no roughness in the main dirt texture, so we'll give that. So increase the detail to 8 and roughness to 0.9. Scale can remain as is. Right now you'll see everything goes black, so just bring the slider behind and that will bring back the texture. To make it much more pronounced, just bring the white slider on the mask closer to the black slider, and that will make it much more defined. Now that right there is our dirt texture. So you can select these nodes, Shift P, and that will create another frame. We'll call this one dirt mask. You can duplicate this entire setup inclusive of the frame and bring that down, and also for the previous frame just make sure the size is at the max. So just type in 64, it's the max, and do the same for this one. Change the label for this one to dent mask. We can use a mix RGB node to combine the dirt mask with the basic texture that we already made. We'll be using this mask as a factor and switch this to the second input and change this color to something more of a brown yellow shade, which is fairly dark. I think that would do. And you can see the output. You can see there's some spots where there's darker shading. We'll just set up the dent mask with the bump map, add a bump map, and make sure you switch the input to height and not normal. So right now this is very high. We'll just reduce this to something like 0.3, and already it's very subtle. I think I'm going to stick to 0.1 or 0.2, and we'll just bring it into this one. You could do the same with the displacement. Now the roughness map, duplicate this mix RGB node and hit backspace to reset it. Plug the first input there and plug the second one into the second input. So right now both the dent and the roughness share the same map. So you'll see that this one is identical to this one. In order to change it, we'll just change the seed value of the mask. Just change the seed value to something else, and that will make the dents appear in a different place other than the roughness. And now you can look at this and you'll see it's completely different. Switch this to multiply and give the factored value of 1, and with that the roughness mask is done. You can add a color ramp to further control the roughness. We need to flip the roughness mask so that wherever there's white is actually the region that is glossy. So just flip it and that will make it so that the cone material is glossy and not the roughness material. So this is like way too glossy. Bring up the value around there would be good, I guess. You can bring it down. You can just adjust the value a bit and see what works best. Finally, we'll just rename the cone material. The fifth video in the series will be released as a compositing tutorial in the Blend Vision Studios channel, and will focus on color grading and denoising. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, do leave a like, comment if you have any queries or you would like to share anything, and don't forget to subscribe. Once again, thank you for watching.